Thank you. Thank you. Hi, everyone. I am Laura. The practice that me and my partner Roland have set up is called LLRR, and our focus is very much on these sorts of practices that Clara and Sanne will be presenting today, and we're very interested in developing these perspectives in the Baltic region. From our experience, it's been much easier to do so in the kind of countryside context, and we always look with great admiration towards the Western European practices who have managed to take the circular approach as well as the approach with bio-based materials to an urban environment. I think it's currently specifically visible in Brussels and Paris, but also in the Netherlands, where Sanne is from and is showing her practice. So yeah, without further ado, I'll introduce Sanne and Clara, who will be shortly giving an overview of their practices, so they'll in that way also be introducing themselves more. And then afterwards we'll have a discussion. I have some particular themes that I want to discuss on my mind, but please do prepare your own questions as well. So Sanne, who I hope we have some, oh, here you are, hi. Sanne, sorry. Verhoeve is here from the Netherlands, and she's an architect, rather educated as an architect, working for Superuse Studios. And she's here today to really represent the kind of aspect of circular materials, or using materials circularly in architecture. I think it's quite important to say that the name of the role that she has in Superuse Studios is a material scout. And this is something that she has been doing for over 10 years now, so really, you know, on the forefront of these practices. And then we have Clara Kernreuter, to say it in the German way, who's here from France and representing Atelier LUMA, which is a cultural center, but has really taken a steer towards bio-based and regenerative building practices as well. And so she's here today speaking about methodologies of bioregional material sourcing and kind of bio-based material development, which is her expertise. So we'll start with Clara and follow up with Sanne.
Hello, everyone. I'm not really used to this exercise, speaking in a micro, but I will do my best. So you... Okay. Okay. We can start like this. So I can present myself briefly. I'm Clara Kernreuter, the Dutch way to say it. And I'm French and based in France, working since barely 6 years with Atelier LUMA. And I'm going to explain you what is this Atelier LUMA team and what we do. What I can say about myself is that I was trained as a product designer, like industrial product designer. And I also did some complementary studies in social sciences, and all that kind of brought me to to the south of France, where I live now. So we are based in the south of France, in this city, Arles. And I'm going to explain you a bit how the story of Atelier LUMA started, and I think that's a good way to understand what we do and why we do it. So maybe, so what you see here is the city of Arles, and 15 years ago, approximately, started a big cultural project. The aim was to build a cultural center in Arles. It's sort of, we could say it's a museum place. It's a place where artists do residencies. It's a place where there are contemporary art exhibitions. And this place has been, like the owner of the place, who's called Maya Hoffman, owns one land that was abandoned before, which is all this space. It was an abandoned industrial site that was place where trains were built. So the place was really old and full of rubble. So she bought the place and started to restore everything. And in 2018, she called a team of designers to develop further some interior designs proposals and also some furniture. So they had already started building also this tower that is a design of Frank Gehry. And so few designers came and set up in an exhibition space, and the story of Atelier LUMA started because the owner of the space was very sensitive to the questions of how to use all these building sites as an opportunity to develop sustainable activities also for the region, for the whole Arles area. And the team started like that at the beginning on the corner of building site. So in the beginning, few designers came, started investigating what was available around, like what material resources, what industries, and with who we could potentially collaborate to develop these interior designs and this furniture. And after, I think, 2 years, that was where we used to be. We kind of started building a lab, and I can show you now. So this is the team, how it was like 2 years ago. It has evolved a bit, but it really started with 4 people, and it grew. And now in the team we have product designers, architects, biologists, material engineers, people working also with administrative tasks, and textile designers and textile engineers as well. So I'm going to show you what we did during the first years of being this collective of people, and then also show you some more recent projects. So it started in 2018, trying to look at the whole territory. First of all, what was available as a resource. So we identified different material streams, such as some salt that was near to the sea area. Arles is a big space for sheep breeding as well. So I'm going to dive a bit more into the topics. And how we investigated in the first place was by looking around, doing field trips, but also organizing a lot of events where we were inviting some interesting local actors like farmers, people from the municipalities, to talk together and discuss what could be some future economies for the region. So this took part for the first years. So as an example, we identified the wool as an interesting resource because in south of France we grow a lot of merino wool of great quality, but all the facilities for textile making, like yarn making, has disappeared, as we had the great idea to delocalize everything from our country. And right now it's too expensive for people who raise the sheep to send the wool to be valorized, so they just keep it like that, and it gets completely dirty, or sometimes they burn it. So this was like one example of what we identified as a source of material. Or also rice is growing there, but sadly each year a large amount of rice straw gets burned on field, and this is a catastrophe for the region. So from that started all the design process, trying to think what we can do with them. There are no yarn facilities, but maybe we could felt some of the wool. So we did collaboration with the farmers, did some yarn, some felt. So this was one example of felt fabric we made with the merino wool, and dyed with some natural dyes. And in the beginning, so we've developed some benches and different products that were made out of this felt. One of them was a bench that was infilled with also a rice straw panel. So we created all these materials, and this was for the purpose of interior design of a restaurant that belongs to this foundation. So really the first years, our first client was LUMA itself, so this cultural center that we did some stuff for it. And later on, it led us to work further on the product development, and this is a product collection we've made out of the same wool and out of the same filling, but it has been edited by a design editor, and so you can see how our project evolved a bit in time. Same happened with olive stones as a waste of the region. Let's just go. We worked with plasturgic methodologies techniques to develop also some materials. It's quite complicated. So we've done these extrusions of bioplastics highly charged with olive pits powder, and we made some furniture out of it. Same happened with salt. There were large amount of salt in the regions, and we tried to, and France lost a bit the market for salt, but there is still infrastructure, some people with the know-how, so we tried to use this and show it to the world. So we used this crystallizing know-how and this resource to create some wall cladding system, but we also had a little COVID project that was these door handles, because as salt is a good antibacterial product, we've made some door handles, and you will understand later why I show all this. So you can go, well, algae. Yeah, we've made some tiles, and this led us to develop a real approach. So in the beginning, it was really organic structure, and at some point we said, okay, so now we are a team. We've been doing things for some years. We always approach what we would call local, but what is really the local area. So we kind of conceptualized our approach, calling it a bioregional design practice. And why bioregional? Quickly, the theory of it, the people of the workshop already heard it this week, is, so we were inspired by some people who wrote some theory about it in the US, saying that we often consider the local considering political, administrative boundaries, but they are often very arbitrary. And what would be more interesting is to look at a territory considering its ecological and cultural realities. So this is what we try to do each time we approach a new territory. We always try to understand what is composing it. So what is the ground made of, what is growing on it, who is working, what are the traditions. And this has much more sense for us than talking about regions, like administrative regions. So that's why we call it like that. And these are the few like main books we based this concept on. So if you're interested, Peter Berg is one of the guy for bioregionalism. So if you're interested, you can read his book. And after a few years, we got quite important in the region of Arles, and the LUMA campus decided that we would remain. They didn't want to, so we had finished all the work we were doing for these interior designs and furniture for these museums and all this place, but they said that it would be a pity to see us disappear, as we had some people calling on the door wishing to be our clients. So they said, okay, but you cannot stay in this area where you set up. You have you need a proper workshop and office space, and it will become a real part of the activity of LUMA. So LUMA now describes itself as a campus for art and design. So they opened up a bit their vision, and they told us they gave us 4 years ago, full freedom to restore the last building that was left abandoned, and we have spent a few years working on this building. So that's a moment when the team grew. We hired some architects. In the beginning, it was only product and textile designers and interior designers, and we collaborated with 2 other architecture studios to restore this whole space. So the idea of this building is that the whole shell has been kept. This area was purposed for an exhibition site. This should be the office of Atelier LUMA, like proper office, and this the workshop space. And to consider that this space should be noisy and dirty, so the design should also fit the use, and this space is more like a showroom place, quiet place. We have our biologic laboratory also there. So they are the few spaces we designed. And we decided from the beginning that we would try to stick to a perimeter of like 70 kilometers around where we are based. So all what you can see are all the materials and also skilled people that we sourced. I don't know if we source people, but you understand, to make this building. And for us, it has been a great, the purpose was to give us a playground to scale up all the stuff we had experimented in the past years, because we had full of samples in the drawers, and we wanted to demonstrate that we could do this, but at a bigger scale. So I'm gonna show you, I could talk about it for hours, but like the major examples of the materials we developed at scale for the building. So the first two were earth-based material, rammed earth and compressed earth bricks. So it always starts with the sourcing of the material, some stone dust that could be in the formula, some rubbles from demolition sites. And then this is always how it starts, so making samples of rammed earth, samples of compressed earth bricks, then testing them, then getting to a bigger prototype scale, then even bigger prototype scale, and then building the actual building. So this, you see some pictures of the moment we were building it and how it looks right now. So that's the mineral space of Atelier LUMA, where we have most our offices and labs, quiet place. So yeah, that's the space. Then secondly, we've been doing also a lot of plasters. Like all the walls have been insulated with huge straw bales of rice straw. And over it, we've developed some plasters. So again, sourcing sources of clay, of different mineral to formulate some plasters. And then doing bigger scale prototype, and then doing it full scale. So we've used the clay that we find the most in the region, which is this reddish, yellowish clay, as base coats, and as we didn't want it as a finish, we changed a bit the, okay, I will rush. We also did some other formulas for the finish. So we developed two plasters, this one and another one that has inside some sunflower fiber incorporated, and it acts as an acoustic fiber for our workshop place. This is the workshop space. Then speaking about sunflower, it was also part of the material list we developed at scale. So it's what happens with the sunflower is that the farmers, they cut the heads, and then they can't use the stems, so we had to hack with them a machine to harvest the stems, shred them, and did some experimentation. And then two types of panels, one which is more decorative, and another one that we use also in the building. And same happened with rice straw fibers panels. So setting up some, like for this, we really had to set up little factories because they were not existing. So we had to find also some fundings and manage to set up production. So they've been making these panels that have been incorporated in all the ceilings of the building as an acoustic material. And now it's also used for other purposes like scenography. I should just show that. Then also ceramic tiles. So you see a bit the whole, always the same, like sourcing, testing, then testing in our workshop, trying to prototype, and then finding actors like manufacturers that could actually use the clay we were giving them, do the tiles. So it has been used for all the bathrooms and kitchen spaces. And now this company are still producing some of the tiles and also selling the clay, which is a waste clay. And it goes until formulating paints. And I really need to rush because I had planned to talk about much more other stuff. Also about reusing. So our core work is not about reuse. It's more about developing like systems to run up new economies and new materials. But when doing architectural projects, it always makes sense. So we did different implementation of reused materials from the site, but this one is a funny one. We used all the broken tiles from the roof to make a terrazzo floor for the building, also with local companies. And then, yeah, so we've done all this. What about the knowledge? How do we continue that? So, of course, now we have this building is finished. We have other projects with other clients that approach us, and maybe we talk about it later with Laura. To replicate this kind of methodology for other architectural purposes. We work at product scale, so we edit some stuff. We are not producers, but they are editors that edit some of the things we developed. And of course, we really use all like this building, but also the new ones as opportunity to train people, because that's what we found out missing the most when doing rammed earth, for example. Only few skilled people in France can actually make it. So we use these buildings as ways to train the technical also students of our region, people really technically learning how to build walls, how to make plasters. So they were implicated, and that's pictures of them when they were also learning how to insulate with straw bales, doing the masonry job with all the class. We've also done some public programs, so using this as an opportunity to train enthusiastic people, to also host some trainings about different topics related to biomaterials. Also we hosted some professional certificating training. And to finish, we really wish we can share the most of what we've done, because our business doesn't rely on what we produce, but on how we share it and how we do other projects with other people. So all the material sheet that we developed for the building, we really spreaded them. And we are now also in the development of an archive that is an open source tool, and we really wish that it can be spread with a community of designers and architects in maybe, let's say, in Europe, if we dream a bit, that could contribute and publish stuff out of it. And we did some workshops about this topic around, like this was in Vienna, a bit longer than the one this week, because it led to real material development. It was a semester workshop. So we try to spread the method. That's also why we are here. Let's go for it, because it's too long. And just want to finish after that. Yeah, so this is also now the research goes on, and I just wanted to finish with where you can see me in my favorite elements. So this was actually last week, making research about building with reeds, and I've done it together with an Estonian architecture studio called Quidas Works, that you might know, or at least I see many people here who know them. And together with Quidas, we edited a report that is going to evolve, but it's the entire report of the research we've done, and the idea was to compare how can we build contemporary with reeds, both in south of France and in the Baltic regions, so Mediterranean and Baltic. So what I propose to you is, if you scan this, is to have an access to the report. It was done with our documentation archive that I showed you. And the idea is to spread it. So yeah, it was written last week, so probably some mistakes still inside, but you can go back to it in a month and see what we've done. And that's all for me. I hope it wasn't too long for you. Good. Question later.
I think we'll take questions later, and we'll now see Sanne's work as well.
Hi, my name is Sanne. Oh, thanks. I'll put it below. So I know myself. I work at Superuse, a Rotterdam office that is known for reusing material. They do it already for 25 years. And today I'm here to share some projects with you and tell about the way we work. And I also would like to talk about it later on in the topics that you find interesting. Let's see. So first, a little bit info about myself. 10 years ago, I graduated at the architecture faculty in Delft, which for the students here is a really nice place to go to. It's really a place that students make it their own, like they feel at home there and end up spending huge amounts of hours in the model hall, working together intensively. And then I started to work at Superuse. Oh. This is our team, mostly architects, and we are based in Rotterdam. This is another team from China, colleagues. I actually never met them, but we have an office there too. And a flexible team. This is one of the founders. He didn't want to be in the office every day anymore and just decided to be flexible. He travels from project to project. When he has a new client, he just mostly community clients, so community projects. He starts to live with them for like a period of time to really get to know the lifestyle. So to tell about the way we work, I would like to explain or enlighten a bit about the story of our blade-made projects. So rotor blades are necessary for sustainable energy, but how are they actually being made? Rotor blades are getting bigger and bigger. They, at the moment, are like 100 meters, but there are already blades from 150 meters long designed. Teams work together to put layers of glass fiber together with epoxy resin to make this indestructible product. So once they're taken out of use, they cannot be recycled because they are this monstrous hybrid of materials. So in some places in the US, they are being buried in the desert. And in Europe, they're mostly are chopped into pieces and incinerated, but then half of the weight of the ash still has to be landfilled. So what's an alternative? My colleagues decided to make playgrounds of these old blades, and they strived for minimal interventions, like minimal holes and minimal cuts to keep the footprint low. The playground offers places to come together, places to play hide and seek, and all the spaces that evolve by this design, they derive from the qualities of the material. So the material was already waterproof and fireproof and offered these places. Also, it has 90% less carbon emission than a conventional playground. The smaller blades can be used for street furniture or seating places. And this way of working, we like to call Superuse, by which we mean that we get inspired by reusing materials. This is our roadmap. In the start, top left, you can see how the start is different than conventional. We start with an inventory to search the area for available materials, other flows like energy, people, knowledge. This gives input for the sketch design. Then we make a harvest map, which gives input for the preliminary design. And then the next step is the building permit. And for this building permit, it's also a little bit different than conventional because we make this product, which is called Dynamic Definitive Design Document, in which a lot of regulations and rules are already fixed, but some details like color and dimensions are still flexible. So what's the role of this material scout in this? My role is to find the materials and to make a match between the demand and the supply. Remain in contact with a network of demolition companies and other suppliers. And we do this for colleagues, but also for other architects and other constructors. Just to give some insight, these are all the steps we have to take to purchase one single material. It's quite a lot. And to give some insight in this process of how do you start with this reuse, well, it starts with this form. I made it. It's really necessary because the architects are really enthusiastic in the start of the project and they want to have all different kind of wishes and ideas they have. And then I have to start to narrow it down a bit. This form is about planning of the material specifications, amount, specs, everything has to be filled in, or together we fill it in, by the architect, just to make sure that he is clear about his wishes, because otherwise it is going to change always. And then, like my work as a material scout, has been effortless because the whole demand changed. Like last week, I had this material. What was it again? Oh yeah, I had to find a roof. So a reused roof, and it was about plastic, like waterproof, and the wood, which is directly under it. And we decided to work with truck sails for the roofing. And then underneath there had to be like wooden plates. Super specific, what quality do you need? But then after a full week of searching, they said, okay, it has to be waterproof anyway. Okay, but that was new. So then I just found a beautiful batch with large amount of reused underlayment plates, which is kind of special to find. But then we had to go 3 steps back. So this is why the form exists. After that, we fill everything in, all the info that we found in this form. Oh yeah, and if we do not succeed to find the material, which doesn't happen often, then we have an alternative. We choose bio-based materials. So within a project, we add an extra deadline 6 weeks before. So when we do not succeed, we have this alternative available. Some recent projects, I want to show Blue City. This is a circular hub in Rotterdam. It used to be a swimming pool and discotheque, but it closed its doors 12 years ago and was left to be demolished. But then Superuse found partners and joined forces to transform it into this circular hub. They found partners that had the same sustainable principles, and they bought it. So Blue City now is a place for circular startups. It's really the intention for young startups to come here to make use of the spaces and the network in order to let them grow. And when they get bigger, they actually have to move somewhere else. The name of the Blue City comes from this book written by Gunther Pauli. He describes 100 of examples what you can do with waste. A blue city or a blue economy is slightly different than a circular one. So in a circular economy, you have to close your own loops. You have to be responsible for that. But within the blue economy, it is more collaboration because you can make use of each other's waste flows. For example, we have this oyster growing company in Blue City. They grow oysters on coffee grounds, and they put it in bags. And the oysters, they manufacture it into snacks which they can sell within Blue City and Rotterdam. And at those same places, they get back the coffee grounds. So their truck is always full, sometimes with snacks or sometimes with coffee. When we came in, the water was already gone, and we did this investigation about possible waste flows exchangement. And Superuse made a plan. This is the first result of the first part. Here you can see the interior of the former discotheque. These window frames I found, they're real nice, and we didn't have to do anything about them, good quality, and they were applied in the design, although they were a little bit too big for the design, so that's why the architect added this point in the window frames. They taper into a point a bit, and this actually has a positive impact on the acoustics. This is the building where we found the frames, and an overview of all the applied materials and the distance to the project location. By doing this, we saved 68% of the CO2 compared to conventional. So flexible workspaces. Oh yeah, this is a lamp. We found these plastic panels, and a colleague made a design by bending them using heat to make this light fixture. We also have, Blue City also has its own lab. This is a fungi lab or wet lab. So pioneers work here to grow new materials like bacterial leather or yeast or mycelium. There are also professional kitchens in Blue City. Some companies work with reused, like discarded food and make snacks of them. Our office. Here you can see that we had to make holes in the concrete to make passages. And we have cut these concrete into manageable sizes and then stack them on top of each other between steel profiles to make inner walls. In this way, the concrete didn't have to be transported. And another project is Brineoord. This is a nice project realized on an island in Rotterdam. So there were two scouting buildings. Since the 1930s, children were here to have scouting. But at a certain moment in 2000 was not allowed to sleep in the buildings anymore, and they had to be demolished. The owners wanted to do it circular and asked Superuse. And Superuse made these model boxes and were asked all the stakeholders within the project to play with these models. Everyone got one model, and to play with all the elements and using glue and tape to give their input about what they found an ideal design. And so a model was chosen with the group, and everything was carefully demounted. The funds raised had led to a very challenging budget, so there was a team of builders came about with the distance to the labor market, so people with autism and burnout or pensioners, and they worked together, all with different experiences, and this was the result. So all steel beams have been recalculated and reinforced with steel or wood if necessary. And 90% of the old buildings is reused. And the owner offers cultural programming for adults and for children. And here an overview of all the applied materials. But just to be sure, to show you, it doesn't always have to, like the reuse, doesn't always have to look this bit messy or rough. This is also a project. Insurance company asked for help by transforming their interior. And here you can see how this worked out. So the white panels you see, they are used facade elements, trespa we call it. And an artist was asked to make a pattern in it, to using myling it. So it looks, it gets another look. Also, the stairs have been made of used mooring poles. The last project that I would like to share is a little bit older. It's a cultural center in Rotterdam. Really nice place in the city center. A bar, sound studio, and small cinema concert hall. This is the library and bar. The flooring is made of reused tabletops or desktops. A pattern has been sandblasted in these desktops to make it anti-slippery. And old archive tables have been used, as you can see here, to make tables, and they are on a rails, so they are a little bit movable. And the seatings are cladded with cable reel wood. And the concert hall is cladded with acoustical walls and ceiling panels that come from an Airbus. And within this element, also lighting fixtures and ventilation has been integrated. And these toilets are made of reused liquid tanks. So to conclude, I would like to share some preferred materials that we really like working with and that we also sell to other architects that would like to work with reused materials but don't feel like finding them. So Trespa is one of them. So we know Trespa from the changing cabines of swimming pools or facade panels, desktops. You can make nice patterns in them to give it extra qualities, and then you can use it as flooring or wall panels. It's very easy to clean. Like normal architects don't like it because it looks super artificial, but we do like it because it's almost indestructible, so you can actually not break it. And it's really easy to clean and also suitable for humid spaces. Another favorite is our steel contour sheets. They are left behind after laser cutting, have standard sizes, and you can apply them as facade element. This is a recycling center in Den Haag. At the moment, we can only select the plates that we like to use, and we can also treat them. So clients we prefer a rusty plate, so untreated, for it has the lowest footprint, but clients sometimes like a different look. So then we do experiments with this one on the left is sandblasted and painted, like transparent paint. And then this one is sandblasted, rusted for 1 week and then painted, which made the rust fix. And the last one is also powder coated. And of course, we take into account all the regulations about safety, so we can select them on the openings that are small enough to fix the regulations. And in future, we would like to be in contact with the supplier even more to also arrange that, for instance, all the plates have this sturdy frame around them, and if it would be possible to make little holes in them on like 6 or 8 places, then we could directly apply them as fence, facade, or balustrade. So then the whole model would be cheaper and even more interesting. So that would be our future step. Cable reels are also nice, popular at our office. When they are discarded, the core material has nice, good quality because they are have been protected by the cables around them. And they consist of those nice little identical beams with a really nice section with a little curve in it. And they can be applied as facade elements or wall cladding or interior element. They have to be treated to increase the lifespan. And in comparison to a new facade, we saved 90% on carbon emissions by using these cable reel wood. To conclude, I would like to share this is not a real project, but just an initiative called XTEX. So to realize a shift in text from labor to material, we are talking like involved within this project that is addressing the politics to make labor cheaper and material more valuable, because then you can spend more time on the material and refurbish it, which makes reuse a lot easier. And this project receives a lot of support in the construction sector. So thanks.
First of all, thanks to both of you for the presentations. I think they're incredibly inspirational, and maybe like me, a lot of people also wonder how they can kind of come into being, and who else is needed for them to come into being. But maybe before I formulate that question more particularly, I want to start with asking you about the aims of the work that you do, because I think probably a lot of people here in the audience kind of understand and share the context and the concerns from where you're coming from, or at least I'm making that assumption. But I wonder where you're going with what you're doing. So I guess each of you has your own specialisms in it, and often with these sorts of specialisms, be it with reuse or about regenerative materials, I'm wondering, are we just replacing the materials that are being used now? Is the aim to basically go on in construction as we do and use low carbon materials rather than high carbon ones, or is there something else to it as well? I'll give it to Clara.
So I guess there are two questions. What is the aim, and are there substitutional materials? That was a bit the substitute materials.
Yeah.
So what is the aim? I can answer for myself. Probably my colleague could also have other answers, but I think the whole purpose is to try to slowly, deeply change our production system, because we've seen that over the past centuries we have lost a lot of our skills, derooted most of what we produce from our own ground and territory. So I feel our aim is to reincorporate these traditional techniques and also think about what would be relevant now to produce. So everything that is that has a materiality is impacting the environment, the society in a way, but how could we make the least impact or the best impact as we can on these ecosystems? I think that's the idea. So we often look at also what was done in the past, all the vernacular examples of our regions to get inspired, but then thinking that we can try to reactivate or redynamize some sectors, but we cannot also do as it was done before. We have to invent new techniques, new methods, new materials that will fit tomorrow's needs. So we cannot build, for example, like before with massive stones, because we can't extract it anymore. So that's a bit our aim. And in Atelier LUMA, we also like to follow, I think this comes from the UN report, no, the prevent, reuse, and then use bio-based or at least not extractivist materials. We are not positioning ourselves as actors who are really impacting in how to reuse stuff, but at least we try to, we leave it to others, people with who we want to collaborate, but we try to make a deep change, and it's really slow. And then the second question about substitution, I think we can't substitute all the conventional materials and techniques that we are working with the most today with all these new initiatives. It's more a question of how to design projects that will fit these sources of materials and these techniques. So really often we are approached by clients who want us to consult their projects to try to develop their materiality in a nicer way, more ecologic or more meaningful for their region. But they often draw something, and at the end they say, yeah, we have thought of insulating this building that way, can you find a better option? And often we say, we don't propose an option, we can't just substitute, because we have to integrate this idea from the beginning of the design so that we can consciously develop something that works, because at the end we are always stopped by either timing or budget, or also considerations of for insulation material thicknesses. Some bio-based insulation materials won't be exactly the same as rock wool, for example, so you cannot just substitute rock wool with rice straw, for example. And that's often a problem, and we have to educate people a lot, saying you have to design considering what is possible thanks to the materials you can develop, and thanks to also the skills and techniques that you want to engage in your building, and not reverse. So hope this answers a bit the question.
Thank you.
I think it's the aim of Superuse to promote urban mining and to help all the conventional companies with that.
Thank you. I'm thinking about Rotterdam in particular when you say this, because I was living there 10 years ago, and since I moved, there's probably tens and tens of towers that have gone up in this time. And is there kind of I wonder if they'd be better, or would they feel right if they were made of reused materials, for example? Or what's kind of Superuse position on that, if you do have a position on that?
Well, it's nice. A lot is changing. Like 5 years ago, we were still within this super small scale, like cultural sector, small local governmental clients. And now we have also a lot of questions coming from the market, like the largest conventional builders, constructors need assistance within their projects because it's described in their brief. They have to. So, and they don't know how. So that's an interesting situation.
Thank you. And before I ask anything else, I'm wondering if anyone from the audience wants to ask anything already. Yeah. Should I give the same mic? Yeah.
Thank you for the presentations and for the start of discussion. I'm Jurgis. I wanted to ask, going from the first question that was asked, I want to maybe you have some examples or some experience that the materials that you created or found, they were not only the substitution for the other materials, conventional materials, but they also showed like other functionalities, other features that broadened the use, the need.
Would one of you like to take this?
Yes, thank you for pointing that, because it's true. Sometimes it's not on, like you can substitute something, but we should also consider all the qualities that can bring some other materials that we develop. And of course, working with raw earth or fibers, we will always promote the fact that it's breathable, that it has good hygrothermic properties. So it's also bringing other qualities like technical performance, but also feeling in the architecture, and also some new aesthetics that we have to address. Like in French, raw earth is really associated with a hippie raising goats in the countryside, and they make these huts with clay. So it's also for us like one goal that we have is to show that it can be contemporary, even if I really like goat raising. I really need to say it.
Yeah, thanks. Challenging question. I would have to think about one project. We're working on this parking garage, and then a facade material is needed. And the colleagues were really enthusiastic about a material that was like, we're thinking about blade-made rotor blades as a facade. I thought it would be unpractical, but and the other option was like temporary facade made out of wooden logs that are also at the same moment drying, because wood needs this amount of period of time to dry, and to use this facade space for this process as a temporary use, and then after this period is over, put a new batch of wood on the same spot. I think that could be an extra function added to the old one. Yeah.
Happy with the answer? And I wanted to ask as well about the kind of maybe support that you have received, or the networks that you operate in. And I think in a way this facade question is something that brings this question about, because it's also then about like a continuous relationship with a site or a building or a client. There's also, I think, others in the, you both seem to be working with your practices in networks. It's hardly that it's only designers that have instigated all of it. There must be material suppliers who have similar value systems, or for whichever reasons interested in collaborating on such topics. And yeah, I just invite you, both of you, to reflect a little bit on that.
Yeah, we are very happy to have found a fixed supplier for our steel sheets that we've shown on the screen. So first we had some old suppliers that, to be short, became a bit crazy of our questions, because we made their process, their production line more complex by asking all this selection of materials and communication and transport and handling. But now we found this supplier that's really into sustainability himself. He came to us, actually. And this is a very nice way of working, because then it's totally different relation, actually. And he is intrinsically motivated because he is related to this credit system, accreditatie. So he is receiving points at a certain moment because he is working with us to get rid of his waste flows. And this is something new, that these accreditatie systems are helpful. So, and this way all the conventional companies are approaching these circular values sooner.
I guess for us it's a bit different. We don't really have regular, not regular, but like fixed collaborations with suppliers. Of course, we did grew some relations with some of the people and crafts we worked with, but I think your question is also related to who makes it possible and who do we work for. So for that, we are part of, we have different type of activities. I think our activity relies a lot on private clients who want to develop sustainable some sustainable ideas or developments for their own projects. It's often architecture, so we are called by some clients who wants to replicate a bit the work we've done for the building I presented to you mainly today, adapted to their contexts, and in a way they are the one that fund a lot of our work, because we use every new project as an opportunity to create some new stuff. And then on another level, we are also a part of an academic network, and some that also give us some funding. So not all the things we do are relevant for that type of fundings, but we have some part of our work really considered like R&D, for which we get some subsidies from the states and education ministry. Like we have different streams, and also we are often doing applications for projects such as, for example, European funded projects. The one that allowed us to meet Architektūros Fondas is one of them, which is called LINA. It's Learning, Interacting, Networking in Architecture. And it's also a network that gave money to develop some research at a European scale, and the projects I've done together with Kūrė's work in Estonia was actually funded by this network. So they are a bit the different scales we work at. So yeah, trying to have a good balance between clients' projects that are sometimes not the most important for us, most interesting. We know that some people want to do some greenwashing, some purpose washing, but we kind of accept that, because then, yeah. And I have to say, we have the luxury of being part of this LUMA campus that also offers us space and some security for our salaries. So this is also quite specific. So it's a philanthropic approach, I think. And this wouldn't be possible without these rich actors that have an interest in developing, like a personal interest in developing these practices.
I guess what I hear, with all of these practices, there's both public and private support to these activities, and that makes me wonder how much activism or lobby work or advocacy work you've had to do as part of these practices, or still are doing.
I wouldn't call it lobby, because that's a bit an angry word, I think. But I was thinking about the question before. We have actually this network of constructors that we like to work with, or they accept reused materials, and also technical engineers that like to work with reused materials, and this is really helpful, actually, to grow this network. Yeah. And also, it's also helpful that we are housed in this blue city, because it attracts like hundreds of parties that are interested in circularity. So they are visiting Blue City and totally connected. So this is actually also nice to be in a circular hub. Yeah. Let me think about your next question.
Advocacy.
Oh yeah.
I actually don't know what that means in English, advocacy. You have to say about lobbying. I don't know if I can say that we are lobbyists ourselves, but we are part of networks that do some and support them. You know? So, for example, we are really close to the French network fighting for straw construction, and we always try to integrate them within our projects, and we proposed them our space to host their trainings. So in that way, we are part of these activist movements. And I think being activist is just maybe being here and doing the work we do as good as we can. Yeah.
Do you want to add something?
I could just add that it's also nice that we're really involved in education. So all of the colleagues are like continuously involved in chairs and different universities. And that's also really nice because they kind of raised different generations of architects, which is also influence. Yeah.
Thank you.